Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Coffee Talk. Oh, yeah, baby, with the Chad. What are we going to discuss today? But remember, before we get going, remember that we do have the Super Thanks Spotlight going on. That's always going to go on. So if you want anything shared in the Coffee Talk sessions, go ahead and do a Super Thanks. I know it costs money, but it only costs a dollar or two. I think it's like whatever you want to kind of throw out there, because that way it just kind of keeps it a little bit more serious. If you're a little bit more serious on getting your question answered and talk about and discuss it, as long as it isn't too personal for you, of course. If it's like a little bit too personal or really way longer, you really want to get nitty gritty with solving something, I'll put a link in the description how to get in contact with me and work with me more privately. But the whole goal here with the Coffee Talk is to kind of bring in a little bit more community with inside YouTube and try to do it as best as what we can with the YouTube platform. So that's what we're trying to do here on the Sunday Coffee Talks. Again, it's going to be more of a laid back. It's going to be mainly a one take wonder. So you're not going to see a bunch of fancy editing and all that jazz. Just to sit down, have a coffee, and talk about my week, talk about your week, and manifesting success, wealth, health, and prosperity, baby. But what happened this week to me, and that's kind of going to be the nature of this conversation. And make sure you comment below. Let me know how your week went. What's going on? Good things, bad things, ugly things aren't working. What's going on with you? So comment below, let me know that stuff. This week, I know I look sleepy. My brain's tired. I don't know why. I get up and I make my coffee. I'm still waking up, and I start thinking like, is coffee talk a good idea? Because my brain isn't even awake yet. Then I turn on the camera, and you can tell my eyes are still sleepy. I mean, this is the real authentic coffee talk. But earlier this week, this is going to kind of like gear this conversation is what we're going to talk about. Not so much, but there's a lot of stuff, not so much in great detail. But I want to Cambodia this past week. I went to Cambodia to do a visa run, and kind of had a negative experience with that. I did do a video on it. It actually posted on Saturday. But by the way, all the videos that I discuss here in the Coffee Talk, I will put in the description. So if there's a long form video, it's easy for you to get access to it. So I had that going on this week, and we did that for one day. It took me like half a day, honestly. It was super closer than I thought. And then that really led to, when that event happened, that led to kind of me thinking about forgiveness, kind of forgive and forget. Then that kind of led to, I did a long form video on stop making rules to stuff. Stop making so many rules to things. And we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail. We'll bring in some comments to this as well. But ultimately, kind of all these things kind of happened. It really, like when we talk about manifesting really equals your identity. What you're manifesting in your life is just equal to who you are being. Okay, now before we dive down a rabbit hole with this, what we have to understand is we're manifesting 24 hours a day, no matter if you're aware of it or not, no matter if you like it or not. Okay, if negative things are coming into your life, you manifested that. That's just, bottom line. Maybe you thought about it. Maybe you had maybe you brought emotion to a thought and it basically occurred. So that's what we have to understand. So what do I mean by manifesting equals your identity? Is who you're being at a particular time, or who you're being right now, is aligned with what you're manifesting in your life. So if you're sitting back right now and say, well, I don't like what's coming into my life. Well, it's a direct link to who you are being. I mean, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense to me, but I'm tired. These are going to be comedy sessions when we come on the coffee talk here. Chat's sleepy. But we all have, I'm kind of having some fun with this and stuff like that. But we all have times. Okay, this is why when you do a little exercise. Okay, we all have times where everything was going right in our life, or we manifested something in our life, and we can kind of pinpoint, oh, this happened. But what I want you to do is sit back and think, who were you being at that moment when everything was going right in your life? Who were you being? That's what I mean by your identity. Who are you being at that moment? Okay, and I do this same exercise, and a lot of times I'll find that like I was more confident. I'll let things go. I was moving forward, and confidence kind of means like when you get more confident is you just believe in what you're doing. You believe it's going to come to you without a shadow of a doubt. You just believe it and expect it. And we all do this. Okay, we all have this. Okay, we've all done it. Even if it's like a cup of coffee, you want to try and manifest a cup of coffee. The reason why it works, and we've talked about this before, the reason why it works is because you don't care. You let it go. You kind of expect it. You're not really attached to it. And then you kind of forget about it. Then one day you wake up, you go to Starbucks and you get a free cup of coffee, or your free favorite coffee you want. It's not just a normal coffee that you don't like. But another thing I want to talk about, if we know that manifesting equals our identity, okay, who we are being, another thing I wrote down here is about decisions. And I want to try to explain it a different way here. I wrote down, like, if you change your life, is by changing your decisions. And I'll say this one more time. If you want to change your life, you got to change the decisions that you're making. Lots of times when I say like we live in a loop of karma, which is true, what that really means is we're making the same decisions and we're getting the same result, but it's kind of like an oxymoron a little bit. We all do it. I do it too. Is we're making the same decisions, and we're making the same decisions throughout our life, or in a particular event, and we're getting the same result. But the big kicker to this, but we deep down we expect a different result. But we're making the same decisions. You can't make the same decisions and expect something different to happen. If you make the same decisions, you're going to get the same result at the end. Okay, like when I studied with Bob Proctor, and I was mentored by Bob Proctor when he was still alive. I think I started going to him back in 2016, and he would always talk about decisions. And a lot of this information we hear over and over and over again, but we just don't get it. You know what I mean? We know this material. You can sit here and debate with me on it. We can have great big discussions on it, but your life isn't changing. And if your life isn't changing, all that means is you haven't figured it out. Okay, you don't know this material as well as you think you do. That's the bottom line. Okay, that's our, when it comes to each individual, that's our goal. Okay, if you're not living life on your terms, well, something's missing, something's happening, and it's up to you to figure out what you're doing. We're all doing something, but at the end of the day, we all have our own bad habits we do, our own limited thinking that we do. That's just the bottom line. Okay, what my limited thinking might be different from you. This is how this differs. Okay. Now let me go back. Let me get my thoughts here. I got a lot to go over, but I can't be too specific on a lot of stuff. If not, this coffee talk would be like 1 hour. You'd be like, holy crap, Chad. Holy crap. But when we go back to, you change your life by changing your decisions. You can't make the same decisions. And I want to give you a couple examples with this, because I tried to think of an awesome example. And this is true. This is actually what was occurring. Like, I'm up in Surin right now. And and we've only been up here maybe. Well, we've been up here. We came up here February 1st. I ended my lease at La Casita, and I ended it early, but stuff was happening that I didn't like, and and I just got tired of it. I set a standard, a boundary, and I went with my standard, you know. Um, and then we came up here. We've been up here since February 1st, February 2nd. Right now, it's near like February 21st or 22nd, something like that. But let me read this example, and I'll send it. I'll tell you. Okay, I got it now. And really, what I mean by we make we make the same decisions, we get the same result, but at the end of the day, we're expecting something different. So when I came up here, I started to everybody's kind of sleeping, so I can't really walk around and show you. Um, but when we came up here, the room that was our bedroom, and I got the computers in the room too. That we repainted the room. So and there's concrete on the walls and stuff like that. So I mean, I bought the paint, I bought the putty to kind of put in on the concrete. I also bought primer because there's a lot of moisture that's built up. So after you paint it, I mean, within it just the moisture already builds up and bubbles the paint. So so at first, Ang wanted her and me to do it. So I was kind of scratching my head because I was thinking like, dude, I don't know if I have time. I don't know if I have time to do this, to do it the right way. So then while I was thinking about it, Ang had her I think it's like a cousin, like cousin Tong, come over and paint. So then I told him like what I wanted, kind of like how to do it, and he did it. But then he painted it. It looked okay. It wasn't like perfect, but it looked okay. And then after he did that the first weekend we came, so it's been probably like 3 weeks now, and the flipping paint is kind of doing a bubble on one of the walls, kind of down, kind of lower than the window, where it's kind of building up that moisture again. So I was like, dude, okay. And I was like, did he put the primer on right? So I know he did one coat of primer, but then when I was looking on Google, when it going through all the videos, like it says you at least want to do 2 coats. Then they mix the primer with something. But maybe if you're a painter, comment below and tell me what I did wrong, or tell me what how to do it right when you're dealing primer. But they mix the primer with something to make it a little bit thicker, not just like water. So it kind of like sticks on it. You can really tell like you got it on there. You got the coat on there. So if you have experience with this baby, I'm gonna be expecting a comment. Just joking with you. But anyway, long story short is it's not fixed. And so you have this example, and then I'm in the kitchen right now. The kitchen's only about 10 years old, and it's not the kitchen's falling apart, but it looks like, I mean, I would say it looks like it's 20 years old or 25 years old. I mean, coming from the United States, but it's only like 10 years old. And then there's other areas. If you go in the living room, the windows aren't put in right a little bit. If you go outside, there's sections of the house that are painted different colors. They just like, I can kind of maybe show you this. I mean, there's trash right here. They got to burn right out here, but you can see the cement wall like right there. They added a cement wall. I mean, it's probably about 75% done, but it's not. I'll just show you because I'm close to it. What the hell? Okay, so here's the wall. This section of wall actually looks pretty good, but it's not done. But they got to finish the top here. Okay, you get over here, you can tell this one's a little bit more uglier. They gotta finish this part. But down here, they got these like little bricks down here. Just looks cheesy. If you go kind of behind the wall, you can see where they layer these slabs, but behind it they left like great big like cement goo that's just solid. It just looks bad. It doesn't look like you hired someone to do it, or if you did hire someone to do it, you're never gonna hire them again. So anyway, there's several examples. So anyway, I'm talking to Ang. Ang is like, oh well, when we go to do something, we hire cheap, or we hire someone like in the village. Like this is like country life. Like in Thailand, they call it the village, like village living. But it's really like if you're from the States, you really it's just like if you live in a country, it's the same deal. Um, but but come to find out, yes, they're hiring people in the village, like they know. But like she's hiring her brother that's doing all the work. They're hiring like her cousin, maybe Tom, to come over and do the work, or hiring some like family, but they have a lot of family in the village that come over and work, but they're just doing cheesy work. Then when the room started the paint started to kind of boil up, or it's still building up moisture on the cement wall, because remember, all the walls are cement, they're not drywall. Uh, she kind of started feeling bad because I'm the one that paid for it. So at first I was kind of frustrated because I was just like, well, I'm not gonna, you know what, I'm not gonna pay for things or buy things when the you know you're letting your brother do it or Tong do it, and they're just doing an okay job, but it's not done the right way. And it like the room, that paint job isn't even going to last 1 year. Then for us to fix it, I got to buy everything new again. Like you're wasting your money, or in this instance, it was my money. So besides me getting all frustrated, it's myself trying to teach her a little bit, like, look at your decisions you're making. Okay. And sometimes people can take offense to this, especially if you're coaching them a little bit. Well, look at your decisions. You build a cement wall. Okay, it's not exactly how you want it because you hired your brother and Tong and family to do it, and they're not doing it like a professional. And you think they would do it, put a little bit more energy and more love into it, but they're really not. They're just cutting corners because they're family. That's kind of really what's going on. They're family because they just cut corners, and they think you'll be okay with it. Okay. So you do the same thing through a cement wall. You did the same thing when you built this whole kitchen here. That's why it's kind of falling apart, or it looks like it's 20 years old when it's only 10 years old. Because again, like if you're in the States, dude, and you're in the East Coast, Midwest, I mean, there's houses, that. Like I'm originally from Ohio. So there's houses that are 80 years old, 90 years old, and the kitchens look like this. I mean, and this is only 10 years old because they don't do it the right way. So that's why I'm saying, like, all the decisions, it's the same decisions, but they expect a different result, but you're making the same decision. So if you're making the same decision over and over and over again, you're getting the same thing. You can't expect something different. This is what I mean. This is why I'm trying to give you a good example for you to see. Okay. And we do it at all different levels. Okay. I do this. You do this. You might not do it exactly. You might sit there and say, well, Chad, it's common sense. I would just hire a professional to do it. Okay. And, I would too. But the point is, we all do this, but we do it at different levels. We do it at different stages. We make the same decisions and expect something different. Even for myself, like over my life, like even the whole time I lived in California, I would always want to go home and visit my family. And every time I would sit there, I would look at flights, and this is when I was doing acting and entertainment, and sometimes there's never a right time to go home because your mind thinks about, well, what if I lose work, or what if I get offered something really good, then I'm in Ohio. And those things actually happen. Sometimes you go, then it's like, Chad, are you available? And it's a really good job, and it's like, well, no, I'm in Ohio. So I would always, besides making a firm decision, say, okay, this is where I'm going. I'm buying my ticket, buying my plane ticket. You pay it, and it's like 3, 4, 5 months out, and I know when I'm going, and I'm going. What I would do is, like almost on a cycle of karma, I would look at the tickets and I would wait. And, because I would doubt the process, worry a little bit, think, oh, I might miss work. I mean, I would wait until the very end, until the decision is made for me. Okay. Now, how is the decision made for me? Is, I sit down and I look at flights 2 weeks before I gotta leave. Then the flights are like 4 times, 5 times as much. That's a decision made for you because of course, you're going to sit there and say, well, I can't go now because I don't want to pay 5 times for a plane ticket. So, and I would do this cycle over and over and over and over and over again. And this is how easy this stuff is. And that's why I wanted to share this with you, because this is what we do. This is why, like Bob Proctor, for example, said, if you want to change your life, you got to change the decisions that you're making. You're making the same decisions and you're getting the same result. You basically, deep down, you really want to expect something different, but the same thing's happening because you're making the same decisions. And if, manifesting equals your identity, okay, that means when your identity, you got to make different decisions. And when you, in the beginning, when you make different decisions, it's going to scare you. It's not going to be comfortable for you. You're going to be outside your comfort zone, but you still got to make the decisions. That's how you change your life. We all have to do things that scare us, that we're not sure. Okay, we're not always going to be in our comfort zone, and that's what you have to understand with manifesting. I mean, manifesting is rather simple, but we make it difficult. And the way we make it difficult is because people come out with all these manifesting techniques, and they come out with different terminology, what things mean. But if you take all the BS and the bullshit and set it aside, you go to the core. It's simple. Okay, you have to look at the simplicity in this kind of stuff. It's you're just manifesting who you are. Bottom line, then it's up to you to be self-aware on what's really going on so you can change it. And that could be a frustrating part too, because as you become more aware of yourself, more aware of what you're doing, and it's life. You can't beat yourself up over it. And sometimes I can do that as well. Like I'll get like internally frustrated, like, dude, like, why do I keep on doing this? Or, but once you're aware of it, you can change it. That's the positive thing. Once you're aware of something you're doing, you can change it. Bottom line. Well, I think that's enough with that, because I don't want to make a whole video on those two things. But those two topics that we talked about really kind of what led going back in my week. Okay, so back in my week, we went to Cambodia, and I have a video on it, so everything's in the description. All the videos I'll talk about again. And I almost forget his name. Guy. Guy is Aang's nephew. So Guy wanted to go. So it was going to be me, Aang, and Guy. So Guy's like 19, so he's never been out of Thailand. So he really wanted to go because you can do shopping down there and stuff like that. And when Aang researched it for me, it used to be where Thai, you didn't have to have a passport. You just needed your Thai ID, and you could go across the border and come back, because a lot of Thai people work down there in Cambodia. And Surin is only like 1 hour from Chonchum. And I think I pronounced that right. I could have got it butchered. But it's only 1 hour to kind of the border of the tip of Cambodia, where a lot of Thai people would go down, and either they would work, they would go to the casinos and stuff like that. So that's where we're going, 1 hour away, which is sweet. First, I was thinking it was going to be a 3-hour drive. So I was like, oh, sweet, we could spend more time down there than, come up in the same day. Plus, I'm on a multiple entry visa. But when we went down there, they changed it. They changed the rule or changed the law where Thai people had to have passports. Then Aang had her passport. Of course, I had mine. But Guy didn't have his. So Guy had to stay back with kind of basically Thai immigration on the Thai side. So basically, long story short, Aang and I decided, well, we'll just go across the border and come back. And then that way they just stamped my passport for another 6 months. But when we went across the border and come back, there was a great big scams over. I had to pay for a Cambodia 30-day visa, which I didn't need, but they was forcing me to pay for it, which was like 1,500 baht, which is ridiculous. When you look at how much things are in Thailand and Cambodia. Then Cambodia wanted me to pay because I wasn't staying the night there. Okay, that was their rule. You had to spend the night, and they wanted to pay another 500 baht. And But remind you, when all this is going on, I have a destination Thailand visa. It's a 5-year visa. It's a multiple entry. So I'm allowed to go and come on a multiple entry. But they're holding me to all these flipping scams. So I gritted it, paid it, get back on the Thai side. Flipping the Thai immigration did the same thing to me. Like, oh, well, you have to stay gone for at least one day, like one whole day. You have to spend a night there. If you're not going to spend the night, it's 500 baht. So I'm like, I'm on a multiple entry visa. I'm allowed to do this, but they didn't care. So I paid them. Then, but mind you, when they're scamming you, they give you no receipts. Because usually when you go to immigration, when they do things the right way, you always get a receipt. Anytime you pay money, you get a receipt. But when they're scamming you, you have nothing. They don't give you nothing. If you ask for a receipt, they'll just make up some stupid excuse because they don't want proof that they scammed you. So of course they gave me no receipts on the Cambodia side, Thai side. So this happened, but when you have something negative happen, this is what kind of led to forgiveness. Forgiveness and forgetfulness. And I did a video on this. This will be posted on Monday if I get it done. Because true forgiveness is forgetfulness. When you truly forgive something, you forgive a situation, someone done you wrong. When you truly forgive, you truly forget. You let the dead bury the dead baby. That's true forgiveness. You don't harbor it. You don't talk about it. You don't think about it ever again, because this is what we do. We secretly think about stuff, or we talk about it to our friends or our family or significant other. If you're married, a year later, when you have a family reunion, you bring it up and talk about it again. Well, when you keep on talking about it, well, you're not really forgiving. Bottom line, because true forgiveness is forgetfulness. And I want you to watch the video. Once it's posted on Monday, I want you to watch the video, just because when you don't forgive, I don't want to go off into it, but it links you, it binds you to that other person, to that situation. It brings you down to a lower frequency, brings you down to a lower consciousness. And when it brings you down to that lower consciousness, you manifest on that level. Okay, it keeps you away from your dream life, because you're bound to it like an anchor. You're bound to it like a chain. This is why, like in the Bible, Jesus talks about, I don't know, Jesus or God, depending on where, probably Jesus, but or they're both. Who cares? But when it's talking about, when it says forgive or you won't be forgiven, a lot of people look at it as, well, what, God's going to be mad at you, God's going to punish you, God's going to be spiteful on you, or God's going to judge you. No, it doesn't really mean that. Okay, people kind of have a warped sense of what they believe around this stuff. It all has to do with the laws of God, but it also has to do with consciousness. This is what you have to understand, because for us to transcend to a higher consciousness where we have our dream life, you can't transcend to higher consciousness if you're bound to something, you're stuck to something. And that's what unforgiveness does. It keeps you stuck at that lower consciousness until you just truly forgive and truly forget. So when the whole Cambodia thing happened, that was kind of playing in the back of my mind about forgiveness. And then also I developed an affirmation around it. Like anytime someone takes advantage of me, anytime I'm scammed, I'm repaid by 7 times. Okay. Then that's what kind of led to probably our finale of the video, is stop creating rules around stuff. Okay, I don't know where that kind of got brought in there around kind of my week or whatever, but sometimes I'll think about this too. Something I chew on myself too, is because we create rules with stuff. We create like false rules around things. And some of them can be real rules, okay? Like after you get out of college, after you get out of high school, like you want to be a doctor or an attorney, well, you got to go get your undergrad degree, then you have to go to law school, then after you go to law school, you have to pass the bar, and after you pass the bar, then you finally can get a job in law. You finally can go into what type of law you want to work in, you want to specialize in. Okay, those are like kind of standard rules, but But what I really mean by this, and I already did a video on this a while ago, and I put it in the description again for you to check out. And I did a short on this also. So I did a short and a long form video. And it's so funny because when I did the short, I get a comment, and the comment's like, well, he's making like a funny comment. Well, I bet he breaks his restraining orders all the time. You know what I mean? And you get people that make comments like that. Sometimes they're funny. Sometimes they're funny, but they're more indirectly wants to be the slam the person. It doesn't really matter. If you're doing it directly or indirectly, you still get the same result in your life. But what that really means to me, when people make funny comments and they make a funny comment like that, when I say there's no rules, you're setting rules you're setting rules, but the rules don't exist. And I'll explain this in a second. Is when people comment and they comment funny, they comment, oh, I bet he breaks his restraining orders. Well, the bottom line is when people comment like that, people tend to make fun of something that they don't understand. That's what you have to understand. I mean, isn't it so true when we think about it? If you don't understand something, you tend to make fun of it. Okay? If people don't really understand the Bible or really understand how to interpret the Bible for them, what do? They make fun of it. You know what I mean? It's just the truth. Is we make fun of something that we truly don't understand it. So, like sometimes when people make little stabbing comments like that, I mean, it just shows their ignorance. And I'm not saying ignorance in a bad name or in a bad word. It just means they don't understand it. And that's what is just coming to me so strong, because it's like, well, they don't understand this. That's why they make fun of it. But what do I really mean by no rules to life? And because what we end up doing, we set all these little rules. And remember, your subconscious mind has no rules. Your subconscious mind, it don't care if it's true and false. It doesn't care if it's good for you or not. It doesn't care if it's bad or good. It's giving you what you're giving it. And once you influence your subconscious mind with your dream life, it's going to figure out ways, as long as you get out of your own way and you let go, it's figuring out ways how to make that happen for you. And it can come to you rather quickly. This is what I mean by no rules. Okay, let me give you an example, or maybe I'll try to give you several examples with the no rules thing. And we do this to ourselves. This is something maybe we don't talk about, we might think about. Like when I worked in entertainment, it might be the rules. You might sit here and say, well, I have to take acting classes. I got to get an acting coach to help me with auditions. I got to start auditioning. Then I got to start off small. I got to do background work and extra work. Then that will lead me to day player roles and co-starring roles and guest starring roles. And then that will give me enough experience to be like a series regular. Then if I'm a series regular, then maybe I'm the star of the series. Then I'm shifting off the movies. What did I do? I just set all these rules to things, like all these, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. If I believe that for myself, well, that has to occur. That makes sense. If I believe that I'm setting these rules in my life around the entertainment acting industry, and I say, this is what I got to do. I got to do this. 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 And it leads me into that standard, like how we were brought up, middle class, where when you go get a job, you have to start off at the very bottom, then you slowly work your way up. Okay. And we set these rules where that has to happen for us. And when we set these rules, well, guess what? It's happening. It's happening just the way you said it. Okay, this is what I mean by rules. But at the same time, if you're old enough, we all know people in every industry almost. We all know people that literally had no experience and basically jumped like 15 steps and they're way over here. We've all had a job where we've started at the bottom and we think working up is the right way, and then all of a sudden they hire someone with less experience than us right from the outside and hired him straight in being our boss. We've all been in those situations. We've all seen it with our own eyes, but we still stay stuck making these rules. You know what I mean? And for our lives. And this is what you have to get out of your mind, is what you say is going to happen to you. Okay, same way with YouTube. You know, like with YouTube, the same thing. You can get online, get on YouTube, and there's millions of videos, maybe not millions, but millions of videos on how to form a YouTube channel. And some of these videos have 1 million views, 500,000 views, and you think they're giving you good advice, but they're really not. Because it's like, well, you have to do this. You have to, in order to go viral, you have to do your thumbnail first, then your title, then you have to have this wonderful hook inside the video to hook people. Then on top of that, then you have to edit your video, that you have a cutscene every 2 seconds. That way it's so fast and poppy. You know, you have to keep people entertained. Okay. And one part is they're not necessarily giving you bad advice, but it just looks like what everybody else is doing. But at the same time, you're setting rules to yourself. If you think that is true for you, well, that you have to do that. Okay. That's true for your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind, it takes it true. Okay. But if I sit there and say, it's always what I say has to be done. You have to understand this. It's what you say has to be done. If I sit there and say, well, I'm going to come up with this coffee talk series and it's going to be a one-take wonder. It doesn't matter what I talk about. It doesn't matter where I'm filming. I could be filming in a kitchen. I could be filming outside. I could be filming when I'm taking a walk, looking at a buffalo. I could be filming when I'm sitting on a toilet. It doesn't matter where I film. It doesn't matter if it's a one-take wonder. It doesn't matter what we talk about, but everybody's going to like it. Everybody's going to love the content. Everybody's going to get it because I'm going to try to explain it simple to the point as much as I can. I know I like to talk because I like to talk about this stuff, but it's always going to be what I say has to be done. I don't have to do this stuff. I don't have to spend 5, 6, 7 days doing one video and cutting it, doing major editing. I don't have to do that stuff. I can just do a one-take wonder and it goes viral or gets popular. It's always going to be what you say, okay? And I had another guy that watched a long form video on, I don't know if it's like no rules or breaking the rules and stuff like this, but he had a question about, it wasn't really a question. It was like, I didn't really understand his question. He's commented before, but some of his comments are kind of debatey type of comments, or I couldn't tell, like, are you just trying to are you really asking a question? Or are you trying to disprove what I'm saying type of thing? Because he said a question of, well, you know, what if that, you know, I'm trying, you know, I have to get a job. And since I got to get a job, the job I want, you have to take now I don't know what country he was from, but he said, like, I have to take an exam or I have to take a test in order to get this job. But if I don't take the test or exam, I'm not going to be able to get the job. But I have to take the job. But you're saying there's no rules, so how can I do this? You know, of course you're going to have, you know, people like to give extreme examples just to debate with you, just try to disprove what somebody's saying. That's why people love to give extreme examples like this. And I don't know if that was his kind of forte on it, because I could tell how he's writing. English wasn't his main language. English could have been his second language. But the thing is, guys, it's like the Cambodia example. Okay, things are going to happen. And when they happen, you don't bring energy to it. Okay, it happened. Don't bring energy to it. Or if you catch yourself bringing energy to it, you catch yourself thinking about it, you're aware of it, and you stop it. Bottom line, we're all going to have times where we go out and get in the car and my tire's flat. Well, are you going to let that flat tire ruin your whole day, ruin your whole week? Don't bring energy to it. See, this is what, and I used to do it too, and I have to stop myself every single day when things happen, is when things happen to us that we don't like, don't bring energy to it. Because once you bring energy to it, once you bring emotion to it, once you start thinking about it, and you start thinking about it more than you should, well, guess what happens? It lowers your vibration, lowers your frequency levels, it lowers your consciousness, whatever you want to call it, and you manifest that identity. Okay. When things happen, you just walk around it. Or when things happen, you have an affirmation that you say to yourself that puts you back on track. You bring no emotion to it. Okay. Just like if you have a mysterious bill that comes in and and you weren't expecting it for that month. Well, besides being negative, having a temper tantrum, an adult temper tantrum, besides getting all stressed out over it and talking about it to everybody for the whole entire month, how it ruins your month, just sit there and say, no, thanks, Father, that I have money to pay this. Thanks, Father, it came in, but you're going to bless me. Thanks, Father, anytime I spend money, I'm repaid by double. Thanks, Father, anytime someone does me wrong, I'm repaid by 7 times. That's what you got to do. Even if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business, and if business is a little slow, you say, my business is booming. Everybody wants to work with me. And you say these things over and over and over because that's your identity. It's going to sink down in your subconscious mind. Once your subconscious mind takes it as true, it's going to make it happen. And that's why I'm saying, like, with the no rules thing, is stop setting so many internal rules to yourself. Well, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. Well, no, you don't. It's what you say has to happen. Period. It's what I say has to happen. Okay. A lot of you guys love Neville Goddard. Even at Neville Goddard, at the end of his career, okay, was kind of going in this way where you only had to say something one time. You only had to do something one time. You only had to imagine something that you want one time and it would come to you. Okay. Now, granted, that's, he done this his whole life. When he said something, he was very confident in it. He didn't doubt. He didn't worry about it. He let it go and things will come to you. Okay. You have the same power. I have the same power. We do this all day long with things that we don't want. You got to think about it this way. Okay. Things you don't want to happen. You think about it so organically and, and, and it ends up coming true. You know what I mean? I mean, we can do this stuff, but what we're doing is we're doing it in reverse. We're manifesting things we don't like. Okay, but we want more prosperity consciousness over here that what we do like. Okay, we got to switch our thoughts. This is why, guys. This is why, like, even if you go into religious texts, this is why it says, and this is across the religions. When I talk about this isn't only the Bible. Is be of good cheer. Only think of good things and good thoughts and joy and be happy. Why does it say this? But this aligns with harmony with the universal laws. I mean, you have to start connecting things and looking at things like that. Is if I'm always good cheer, I'm always thinking good thoughts, I'm always joy and happy. This aligns with universal laws because what's universal laws? If I'm always happy, well, guess what? Happiness has to come back to me. I'm always good. Guess what? Good has to come back to me. I'm always thinking good thoughts. Well, guess what? Good thoughts have to come back to me. It's reciprocal. All these laws are reciprocal. Okay, same thing when we talked about unforgiveness. It's reciprocal. But how unforgiveness works is when you don't forgive a situation and you don't forgive a person, it binds you to them. It lowers your consciousness. It lowers that consciousness level and it binds you to them until you completely forgive and completely forget. And then it breaks that chain. And once you break that chain, then you can transcend to a higher consciousness. But whew, that was a lot there, huh? But let's wrap this up. It's been about 45 minutes on this coffee talk, and like I said, if you lasted this long, or you skipped around and you lasted this long, is remember the super thanks spotlight. Do a super thanks, a comment that we want to talk about, and that's really how these episodes were kind of be geared. I really want them geared way more towards the community of the subscribers, to kind of bring everybody in and kind of help everybody out. But as we're kind of getting started here, I'm on to bring in my own stuff and stuff like that, which is fine. It was cool. But the whole thing is, talking, chatting with you, doing a one take wonder, not being so concerned with the takes and I have to stay on point and have to stay on topic. and all that jazz, just to sit down and talk, have my coffee. Even though I didn't drink that much of it, it's getting a little bit chilly here. I might have to make myself a fresh little, I don't know if you can, yeah, you can still see it in there a little bit. I only took a few sips. Probably have to make another one. But anyway, blessings to you. Stay tuned for next Sunday. So next Sunday will be another coffee talk. Make sure you do super thanks. Make sure you comment below. Let me know how you're doing with all this stuff. And peace out. Blessings to you. Have a great week. And I'll see you next Sunday.